Hello comrades, yes it's me, a Yorkshireman now living in Wales. Power to the people. So I hope everybody's okay. I've not done a video for a while because I've been away again visiting people and a little bit of a local incident going on which I'm having to look into. So my time's been diverted. So comrades, as you might well be aware that soon, May 2026, give or take, we will be having the Welsh Senate elections, yes. And we'll be voting now on far more people. I think the total number is 96 more people who actually no one wants. However, it is what it is, as I like to say around here. So I'm going to have a look at the propaganda machine and how it's been sort of accelerating itself, and sort of drill down to some of the little details I've found out. So let's already give you a brief summary of what's happening in terms of propaganda. So we have the English Labour Party on this side of the ring, and we have the Welsh Labour Party on this side of the ring, and they're both trying to go, it's not us, it's them, it's not us, it's them, don't do that, it will be bad for everybody, and you're not really representing us now. And then they all make up, shake hands, and then it starts again. Clearly it's some sort of social engineering tactic. Somebody else has said, you need to do that. And on the other side, we also have Plaid Cymru, for saying it wasn't us, it were them. However, Plaid Cymru did have an agreement with Welsh Labour Party for many years. And then we've got all the other parties that were going, pointing fingers, saying we're better than everybody. And all this is happening because one party, the Reform Party, seems to have caused a bit of an uproar. So I want to look at the role of social media versus main media. Main media, let's define as something like the BBC or the like. And what's been happening, and somebody else did send us a document which I'm now going to refer to as I go through this, is how BBC seem to be, I would say, sort of infiltrating local democracy processes. Right, so first thing let's establish is social media news actually taking over mainstream news? So I found this document, Ofcom, and Ofcom basically manage all the media, and they will censor people and the rest of it. Now they also want to interfere with social media streams like YouTube and the like. Ofcom are public funded, they are quango, they are unelected and unaccountable. So am I in support of them? No. In addition to that, their aim is to clamp down on free speech, not encourage free speech. So it sort of makes a farce of it all for me. However, let's look at their research. So what they did say, second paragraph down, is social media is a significant component of online news consumption, with more than half of UK adults, 52%, using it as a news source. And then paragraph following that says, although TV news viewing, previously the most used platform, has declined. So that's going down. So let's just focus on, say, mainstream media. So they are now well aware that their platforms are disappearing to, guess what, social media. So social media is up, and a few little data sets to confirm that. This one sort of does make me smile, to be honest. And so BBC One, ITV Wales, they're going down. Yes, I'm not surprised really with some of the stuff they keep saying and trying to convince people, but yes, they're going down for many reasons. But YouTube, as you can see here, second blue arrow, they're going up. What I find interesting is they seem to have tripled the audience from 23 to 24, which I'm a little bit baffled by that. However, I've said social media news is going up. However, interesting thing, BBC News Online, literally that's going down. So that means there must be something wrong with the BBC brand. Now, I suspect the BBC brand know this because in about 2017, 2018, just prior to this research coming out, they did a local news partnership, LNP they call it, and to do that deal they had a bit of a chit chat with News Media Association, which represent local news. So they came up with a bit of a plan. This is what the plan looks like, local news partnership. So first paragraph down, local democracy reporting service. Now before I get into this, let's look at the word democracy. I now live in the UK. Do I have a democracy? No, I don't. I can't hold anybody accountable. I have to be really careful about what I say online, because believe it or not, if you've not heard, people have been jailed, yes, for saying stuff, or even thinking stuff. Right, so that's a bit of a weird one, isn't it, really, when you think about it. So So to call them local democracy reporting service is a little bit off, I think. Anyway, it is what it is, as I say. Anyway, the data and everything else will come from, guess who, the BBC. Right then, so what else have I found out? The role of them is to guarantee a coverage in highly targeted areas of need. Now, how do you literally decide which areas are needed? I don't know. But what it does say is they are covering local councils and other relevant democratic institutions. Right then, so what that means is they're targeting public areas, public institutions, or let me put it another way, areas of high demographic population. Right, so that's how it works. In addition to that, they then say they going to provide funding, so this literally means the BBC are literally funding it all. So if you're a licence fee payer, well done, because I'll tell you now, you're paying about £8 million a year to fund local democracy reporters. Well done you. I hope you think you're getting value for money. But also what's really interesting, they go on to say it's really not that number, but I'll come back to that. So this is what the maps looks like where they've gone. Now in Wales they've gone for 11. So we've got 11, but as you can see how they're sort of like they're targeting. But on this one it says 165. Yet the other document says 130. And then I've got another document somewhere else which says about 140. So I don't know. So it's a bit of a shame really that the BBC can't get their act together when they're trying to support or trying to demonstrate how good they are. So where are they based in Wales then? So look, you can see this graph, and these people, these local democracy reporters, literally will go to these three main media companies, and we have Reach, don't know who they are, NewsQuest, and then we have Caerphilly Media Limited. So they're getting publicly funded free members of staff. Now if I ran a business like that and someone says you can have someone for free, I'd say thank you and I'd take the hand off it. But we have to be aware now that this is a bit like a sort of infiltration exercise, because what I find quite interesting is they actually call this local news partnership entirely new type of programme, bold in its ambition but focused in its objectives without precedent anywhere in the world. Well, I'll stop you there. I've seen this before. I've seen this actually running out and implemented in, oh guess where, communist socialist countries. So it's not new. I've seen it tried and tested, and it's been done for many years before they've actually came up with it. So it's not new and it's not bold. To be honest, I'm not keen on it. That's why I'm talking about it. Right, now the interesting bit is if you look towards the bottom here is it says a small number of reporter contracts left unallocated as some hyperlocal organisations have declined to take them up. Hyperlocal organisation. I mean, what does that mean? Being hyper means that you can't stand still, you can't sit, you can't do anything. So does it mean that when they went to a meeting with them, the people kept getting up and going out the room and they couldn't do anything? They couldn't sit still to sign a contract or anything like that? Or is it another way of the organisations, or the BBC should I say, turning round and saying they actually were not interested because they weren't keen? I don't know, I'm sure someone else can tell me. So the bit which I also find quite interesting, and I have to move on to this, I've never seen it before, is the Royal Charter. Now the reason I'm on for this will become apparent in the next slide, and it goes on to say in the charter the BBC must have openness, transparency and accountability. And then it also goes on, also in commercial activities it says it must be openness and transparency. Right, so they have to be, I'm going to just say they have to be honest and truthful, and that's literally what they should be. However, I then come to this bit, and this is from one of the documents. LDRs should refer to themselves as local democracy reporters, not BBC local democracy reporters, in all forms of communications including social media platforms and media profiles. Right, why? Why are they not allowing them to say what they are? Because the BBC fund them, so why? Well, I'm guessing because they know the brand is so badly damaged that when people like myself would see BBC local democracy reporter, we'd literally switch off. However, the good news is, if you're watching this, I'm going to tell you that if you see something done by a local democracy reporter, bear in mind it's actually funded, that role is funded by the BBC. Right, so it's not really that independent of anything else, because already I've explained to you, the BBC is sort of targeting certain areas for a reason. Who knows what the reason is? I'm just a mere person. Right then, so they're not being honest. So in essence, I'm going to say that the BBC have already breached their own charter, but I'll let somebody else deal with that. It doesn't stop there though, because the News Media Association, as you can see on this slide here, as I say, always stop any slide and double check I'm not misleading you, they signed an early agreement with them to say, yeah, this is a good idea. However, they then go on to say, reining the BBC's expansionist ambitions. Right. And this is going back to the other slide where you see them all trying to place them in 165 areas within the UK. Right then, so that is a bit of an expansionist regime, is that? As I say, I've seen this before. So at this point, these people are not happy. However, they even go on better to say the survival of the regional press industry is vital. But we must restore people's faith in their media and allow them to recognise that the BBC, yes, the BBC is not always the best source of news. Now they do go on to say social media is frequently far from accurate, which is correct. So I always try to check all my news sources. Now, hopefully you've sort of found this interesting, but the message I'm going to go away to tell you all is, as it ramps up, if you see the phrase local democracy reporter, bear in mind the chances are that person is funded by the BBC and the materials they use is also from the BBC. It's up to you, do your own research and the rest of it. Right comrades, thank you for watching. Please tick, subscribe, leave a comment, and I hope everybody's doing okay. Catch you on the other side. Thank you for watching.